You're listening to LA40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.
All right, good morning, LA. We're back again. That's right, it's Thursday morning, and where else would you be other than tuning in here to LA Talk Radio? I'm your host, Katerina Cozias. It's a little past the hour, and we're going to have a great show here on LA40 because today we're going to be talking about how do you seek and find self-awareness. What is self-awareness? Well, I'll let you know because I Googled it. So self-awareness, officially Webster's Dictionary, says the definition is conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. So, you know, I talk to a lot of people, I interview a lot of people, some people successful, some people not so successful. And the one through line that runs with those that have a sense of happiness about them, a sense of peacefulness, a sense of fulfillment, is that they seem to have tapped into what makes them happy, what makes them tick, what do they want. And as I get older, I kind of look around and I think, you know, so many of us are running around out there doing what we think we should be doing and not doing what we want to be doing. And, you know, really respecting that calling and that place of bliss. So today, I'm very excited to have with us author of the new book, excuse me, a practical guide to self-awareness, discovering your true purpose. Susan Nefzger. Susan, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Susan, I'm excited to have you on this program because it feels as though, you know, more and more of us are moving to a place of conscious awareness of a bigger purpose, a bigger sense of who we are and what we're about. And one of the themes we like to explore here on the show is exactly that. Is there such a thing as true purpose? Is there such a thing as, you know, communicating with a larger consciousness? And your book delves into all of these topics. So if you could you maybe describe in your own words what personal and self-awareness means to you?
Sure. First of all, personal awareness begins at the soul level, which I say in the book, as you know, because you've read it. So for a lot of people, that can mean different things. And so your soul is who you are. That's the essence of you, without the cultural conditioning. It's who you were born as. So that part of you never leaves you. It stays the same. So personal awareness at the soul level means when you get rid of all the junk that we all have to deal with every day, and how we were raised and what kind of relationships we're in, when you take the time to get to know yourself and pay attention to yourself and care for yourself, it's pretty simple to find out who you are. And in the book, so that's personal awareness. And it's not something that all of a sudden you say, oh yeah, I'm there. I know who I am. It's a continuous journey, just like the life journey. Every day I'm still finding out things about myself that sometimes are surprising and sometimes they're just confirmations of what I already know. So personal awareness is getting to know who you are at the soul level, and really just the basis of who you are, who you, Katerina Cozias, are. What makes you happy? What makes you sad? How do you feel fulfilled? How do you feel sad? So just really the basic human emotions, and then going from there. Does that answer?
Thank you. No, that's a nice, place to start for people. What I'd like to do is I'd like to share a little bit of your story as we continue to delve into the contents of your book, because I think the contents, are so excellent. But you, Susan, have taken a little bit of a deviation because you decided that it was time to listen to a calling that was in your heart. So I know that you had been, a 30-year professional executive in marketing, in public relations, And, you still may be playing in that field, but you have decided, if I'm not mistaken, to change gears and shift into full-time writing and full-time communication of this message of how do you really tap into source in order to be the best version of you. How did that transition come about for you? How do you leave your traditional 9 to 5 and say, hey, I think the next half of my life is going to be something a little bit different?
So for those of you who are either going to read the book or are reading it, forgive me for repeating things that are already included. So in the introduction, I talk about how, as a communications person, and really my whole life, I knew at some point I was going to write a book, and I know that sounds very cliche, but it is true. So even as a child, and I'm an avid reader, I've been reading as long as I could read. So I love reading, and I love writing, and I'm in the field of writing. So basically, I just was drawn to go to a conscious writing retreat in the UK in Glastonbury, England. And I, at that point, had been on the self-awareness seeking journey for like about 30 years. And so I knew at that point, I'm pretty good at following my intuition. So I went, and basically what happened during that conscious writing retreat changed me completely. So the retreat and becoming a conscious writer, that's what we call ourselves, and as part of the International Association of Conscious and Creative Writing. What happened in Glastonbury that weekend, it changed me completely.
What happened in Glastonbury that weekend?
Well, I went there. I went through the process of aligning with my creative consciousness through conscious writing, and the energy, the memories, and everything that is there just drew me in. I mind mapped the book in the order it was published. I went out into the gardens of Glastonbury Abbey, the ruins, and I just started writing the book. But it turned into just a total transformation, and I was so surprised that at age 50 plus, that this was going to be the new career for me, and I knew it. And what happens with conscious writing is it's a lifestyle. It's not just about writing. So it's all about conscious living, so that you're conscious of the choices you're making, and you choose how to respond to life, and you choose how life actually works for you. And I know that sounds simple, but it's not simple. And so it's a lot like mindfulness, but staying in alignment with what's best for you as a person. So hence becoming self-aware. That's the hard part. So basically that weekend in England, writing the book, I started writing it. I wrote it in 6 weeks.
Wow. And
then I came home to England, to the U.S. Meanwhile, I'm helping my husband set up his restaurant, open a restaurant, still working in PR. I have a son who's now he's in college. So, life going on. But what I decided was there's no way I could keep working with the same clients because I had undergone such a transformation, and I was feeling really great about that and feeling really good about writing. And then also what I was writing was changing me as well.
Well, you have on page 8, sorry to interrupt you for just one moment, and I'll let you continue. But on page 8, you write a line that says, "The reason we exist is to share our gifts throughout the world that we inhabit." So I think probably what happened to you in England was that you really tapped into what your true gift is about.
Right, and this message.
Right.
And it was obvious.
So you came back to the States and some things had to change, right?
Absolutely, it had to change. Absolutely. Yeah. I decided to only work with people who help other people. So I did more work with nonprofits. Meanwhile, I'm writing the book within that 6 weeks. And it was just something that I could not ignore. Obviously, I published the book, and it's a message. It's part of the bigger message that we're all sharing, and you are too, Katerina, with your new book, that not only for women, but for all people, we've got to become self-aware so we can find out what our true gift is, because everybody has a gift, and it's unique. And everyone was born with one, and that gift will help other people. So if we all become self-aware and we all are happy, conscious beings, you want to share your gift and help other people. And doing so, we come together as a collective and we share positivity and we share the need and the feelings that to help other people. And so what we're doing is raising the vibration of the planet. And really that's the bottom line for why I was so compelled to do this.
There's a line, a second line in your book that stuck out to me, and it was, it says, the key is to trust your inner guide to show you the correct path for you. And I think that's so on point. But part of what jumped into my mind was, okay, great, but how? How
Right.
do you allow yourself the opportunity, I would call it, to trust your inner voice when you have bills to pay, when you're fighting with your husband, when the kids are crying? How do you tap into that inner voice?
Right. And so that's why that's the whole point of my book. This is a guide, and it's very short. It gives the reader exercises, and it's not anything that's complicated. And as you know, because you read the book, it can be as simple as just starting with 5 minutes a day, finding quiet time for yourself to just close out everything else and just align with yourself and listen to yourself and just be quiet. If you can just find 5 minutes of quiet time and start doing that every day, that's going to get you on the path to wanting to connect with yourself more. Because when you do, you'll find that it's a very, it can be you might have a lot of voices in your head, you might have a lot going on. And everybody thinks everybody's daunted by this because they think it's difficult. But it's not difficult if you can just start finding time for yourself. And it really starts with self-care, as I talk about in the book. Because yes, we have all these things in our lives for all the reasons, but we can't help everyone else if we don't take care of ourselves.
And self-care, I was going to say,
again,
self-care,
cliche, but it's true. It's very true. And so in the book, I say I have exercises to start meditating, to start spending time with yourself, or wherever makes you happy, where you can have quiet time. That can be outside, that can be locked in your room, wherever that is, but do it. But you have to start doing it. And also...
And what does the quiet time do?
So the quiet time allows you the space. So what I was just going to get to that. Many things I am a proponent of, and I mentioned in the book, are creating space in your day. So like you were saying in the introduction, a lot of us do all the things we think we should be doing, or whatever that is. And you've mentioned this a million times on your show, which is why I love your show. We had the career, we had the education, we had the career, we had the family, we had everything. And now it's life after 40, and what's going on with all that and why? So we thought we should do that, and that's how we're raised. So we all do it, or most of us do it. So the point is that we create this whole life of busyness. And so when you carve out space in your day to let you reflect on, well, what is it that I'm doing today? Look at your schedule in the morning and say, I need 30 minutes to myself. Instead of saying yes to every appointment that comes through your calendar. Some people actually do that.
And especially in this day and age, Susan, I think that's so important because, we've got these little devices on in our hands called smartphones, and
Right.
they never stop buzzing. The messenger will go off, or the WhatsApp will go off, or an email will go off, or a text message will go off, and once in a blue moon, somebody may call you. But, you can't start your day, most of us, without still in bed, still sleeping our eyes, turning over and looking at the phone. And we hear over and over again how important it is to give yourself the time in the morning to set the tone for your day. Set your intentions, have your quiet time, go for some sort of walk or maybe some exercise to get the blood pumping. But, many of us don't take the time to structure that. So when you talked about self-care in your book, I thought it was a really important chapter to highlight because it does start with that. It's a commitment to self-care and doing what you need to do to put your vibration in the right space to be able to take on everything that's going to come at you, because that we can't control.
Right on. Exactly. And if you can, and so every day, just for example, what I learned in this retreat, I have a morning practice that I've done since then every day. And it's all about, grounding and doing my meditation and just having quiet time, not turning on the phone. I do make coffee. I do that. But I do the coffee mindfulness thing.
Which is what's coffee mindfulness? Talk to me about that.
Well, you can. You can drink your coffee mindfully.
Correct.
You're savoring it. You're sipping it. You're just waking up. No TV, no radio. I mean, I'm not a big TV watcher anyway. But
I don't know that anyone is anymore. Yes.
Right. And I found that helped me tremendously because being in the field, I'm still in, but even then, I mean, I would wake up in the middle of the night and read emails. That's how crazy my business was. Mm-hmm. And you know how that is. And so that's all gone. And I find that creating space in your day, however you do it, so let's say you don't want to get up and have quiet time and meditate, but somehow find space in your day so that you can prepare yourself for what your day is bringing to you. Right. And because we have a choice in how we respond, and that's what being aware is.
Right. Absolutely.
It's all about having a choice, and you do have a choice. We all have a choice.
We all have a choice. And, science is pointing to this more and more. Quantum physics, Einstein, the quantum field. Life really is made of our perception of it. If something happens to you, do you choose to look at the good or do you choose to look at the bad? In the book, you talk about something called the bond versus the vow, or the bond and the vow. Can you explain that a little bit to our viewers?
Well, so the other part of the book, which we haven't really talked about. So when I wrote the book, you can use the word inspired, or you can use the word channeled. You can use whatever word you want to use. And people ask me, how did you choose that topic? Well, and I say, I did not choose it. It chose me. So I channeled all this information, and one of the voices that came out was the story of the woman of faith. And it's a journey of the woman of faith who goes through doubts, fears, religious persecution, and death. But she stays true to her destiny, and she stays true to herself. And yes, she had doubts and fears. And yes, we all do. Every day I'm sure we all do. I do. It's not easy. Self-care is not easy. But the point of that chapter is that the bond we all share, and the bond that we share with people we love, that could be our family, that could be a partner, is that love is the key, and that is the connection that we all share. So that never goes away, and that exists no matter if our body dies, or if we have a journey and we travel far away and we're far away from our loved ones. The love stays the same. That you make a vow when you love someone to be consciously committed to that relationship, which we talk about in the book.
And to touch on your point about love, Marianne Williamson in her book, A Return to Love, had talked about, we have the choice of either living in love or living in fear. And for so many of us, we go through life, with this paranoia and this sense of scarcity, and we just assume that something's going to go wrong. And she says, how different would your life be if you woke up in the morning and you approached life with pronoia? And I said to her at the time when I was interviewing her, I said, what the heck is pronoia? And she says, pronoia is assuming that everything is working in your favor. Pronoia is assuming that, things are just going to be happening that are in your best and highest good. Why not start the day assuming that everything that you're after is on its way to you? So going back to your point about we have a choice, it's the vow that we make with ourselves, with our loved ones, with our relationships, and the depth of commitment to keeping the vow of faith and love and trust and excitement and joy and bliss. Life, I genuinely believe, Susan, that life is supposed to be easy and flow and be exciting and fun. And, the more of us that wake up to that, it can be a very different place, and I don't feel that I have my head in the clouds on this one.
No, and I thankfully have been like that most of my life, so it's easier for some people than it is for others. I understand that. But like you say, in people with anxiety and mental illness, which we've all become aware of too graphically in the last few years, sadly, it's not easy for them. And I totally understand that, because my son grapples with anxiety. But think about if the mental health practitioners, if we all had that mindset that we're both talking about, that we could bring everyone together and be on that page, think about what we could do, think about the change that we can make. And really that's, back to the book, that's why the book is so important, because people may not realize that there is a pronoia, that yes, everything is working in your favor. That yes, there is love and there is fear, but what happens when you're afraid? Everything constricts, you're worried, you're anxious, and so what happens when you choose joy? What happens?
You lighten, you expand.
Yeah, exactly, and you're happy, and your approach to other people is joy filled. And you want to share your light with people, and you want to help people. And, all it takes sometimes is just a simple hi. When you pass people on the street, just say hi, and that can make somebody's day. And it makes my day when people say hi to me, perfect strangers. There's no reason why we can't all practice that. It's really that simple.
It's really that simple, and I've been trying to infuse that into my day as well. I'll give you an example. How many of us go to a grocery store or a pharmacy? We put our stuff up there, whoever's at the counter is checking them through, and off we walk away. And I'm really making a point these days, Susan, of taking a minute and asking that person, how are you doing today? How's it going? Yeah. If you think that they're sitting there for 7 hours swiping, if just a few more of us would actually ask them about their day. I got into a 10-minute conversation the other day with the checkout girl at Whole Foods. She was probably about 65. You could tell that she was tired. You could tell that she didn't want to be working at the grocery store, but for whatever reason, I suppose she had to. And, I really just tried to lighten her day, and I don't know whether that helped her or not, but I know that I left feeling better.
Good for you, Katerina.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's easy.
I do that too.
Yes.
I try to do it all the time wherever I am. Whoever I encounter, I say hi to.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter who it is. It makes such a difference. It really does.
Susan, on page 81, you had another line that jumped out at me because this took me a little bit of time to get there for self. You say that you admitted that you kept your light hidden from others for a very long time. How did you allow yourself to step into your light?
Well, when I went to the conscious writing retreat, and more and more, I was letting my light shine. by being kind and those kinds of things. But the point is, when I got the message, and the book was basically, I'm downloading all this information and writing this information is coming through me every day. I knew I couldn't just be some professional doing PR without trying to help people become self-aware. It was a very sudden thing. Mm-hmm. It just all happened like a bolt of lightning. And when I'm writing the book, I'm getting all the information and knowing the message is, this is my purpose. And I have to help other people become self-aware. And at that point, when the clarity of the message is so clear, I just said, this is who I am. So I know that doesn't really answer your question effectively, because I think it was divine inspiration, definitely. And I hope it happens to other people the way it happened to me, because it was wonderful. I mean, there were a lot of negative things you could say that came from the change. I'm no longer married to the person I was married to. There was no way our worlds could be integrated. So that happened. I chose to change my whole business model. I'm now what I call myself a writer. So all these things happened, and a lot of sadness occurred. But like in the book, The Woman's Journey of Faith, I knew, and it was clear that it was a burning motivation, that this was more important, and this would bring me the joy and the self-awareness and help other people, and it would be worth it.
And has it been worth it?
Yes, it has.
I like the resounding yes in that.
Yeah. It has. It's not easy. I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm never saying that. And I think, in the book, I never say it's easy.
You have a quote in the book, page 58, for those of you that have it. It is our path, and we may go our separate ways depending on our calling. As we are called, we shall go. Did you feel called, Susan?
Oh, yes. Yes. And it sounds like you're reading that from the Woman's Journey of Faith perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is a totally different voice that came through in the writing of the book, which was just beautiful beyond words. I'm so emotional. Writing that was so emotional for me. Some days I would write that part of the book, and I knew that I couldn't talk to anyone the rest of the day.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. Really amazing.
Do you feel that you were late to your own party?
Not at all. I've never believed in missed opportunities. I don't believe there are missed opportunities. I think that I had to be in alignment. I had to be in the right space. I had to be ready, and I was ready. I don't think that at all. I don't think, and this, and I think a lot of people will agree, that everything we experience in life leads us to the next and the next, and it prepares us to be who we are. And who we are is different every day. So everything that we experience in life just really allows us to be who we're meant to be.
Yes. I'm starting to allow some peace around this thing that I've been calling divine timing. Because, for so many people, and especially people moving into, quote unquote, middle age in your 40s and your 50s and your 60s, because people are living real comfortably into their, late 90s and centennials. But there's this stress that, at least that I felt through my 30s, which a lot of people would argue is ridiculous because you're only, in your 30s. But I did feel it because, there was this weight of society's check marks. Did you get that white picket fence? Did you get that car of a certain amount of money? Did you get that husband with the 3 kids? Did you then get that divorce? And if you're not checking all these boxes, you're wondering, geez, am I running late? Am I, on what, have I missed the memo somehow? And the more I look back now with the wisdom of in my early 40s wisdom, I'm kind of recognizing that it really is your own path unfolding in exact proportion and divine order to bring you to the place where your effectiveness will increase and magnify tenfold. And I felt that truth through your book. I think you had to live your life to that point to get to the place where you could bring that wisdom through you. And I'm also feeling it about myself, and I'm also feeling it about a number of other people that I find are coming into my world. We're sort of magnetizing to each other because of the truth and the pervasiveness in what we're feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is excellent. Susan, if you wanted to give our audience some thoughts around how they can step into their own self-awareness, aside from buying your book, and we'll let people know how to do that in just a moment. Any final words, any thoughts, any pieces of wisdom coming through you right now?
Yes. We haven't talked about the fact that I also created, along with the book, a workbook that's also available on Amazon, and it's called Putting Awareness into Practice. So basically, it's a companion to the book, and it helps you through a daily, what's the word I'm looking for? This happens in middle age.
Almost like maybe a daily ritual, a daily roadmap.
I say, yeah, it makes mindfulness a daily effort is really what I was trying to say. And so that's also on Amazon with the book, A Practical. Exactly what helps people do what I'm saying will help people become self-aware. But one of the things I always say is, please know that you have a choice. The other things, there's tips that I give in the book. That's the practical guide part. Create space in your day. I can't say it enough. I know I say it a lot. Create space in your day where there's nothing going on, where you can, whether it's in the morning or in the evening or whenever you feel comfortable, when you can kind of evaluate your day, either the next day or the one coming up, to say, well, this is crazy. I can't drive here and go to this meeting and do all these things. I'll never have time to either exercise or even eat sometimes. I mean, we've all done that.
We've all done that, Susan. You look at the time, you're like, oh, no wonder I'm hungry. It's 4:30 in the afternoon.
It's true. Yeah. So I think one of the things that people can do is to create space in your day. I say this to one of my friends who's a big corporate executive of the law firm, and she's been my mentee, and I'm like, you've got to create space in your day. So we've created little ways for her to do that, and start small. It doesn't have to be, these don't have to be huge steps. Take baby steps towards creating space, having quiet time for yourself, doing things that are in effect, caring for yourself. To practice self-care, whatever that is, whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you relaxed or helps you deal with stress or helps you feel better, do it. Whatever that is, go for a walk, get a massage, get a pedicure, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a spiritual thing.
Sure.
Take a bath, close the door, turn on the music that you love, light candles. Self-care is one of the most important, and I say this also in the book. It's really the number one tenet. I call these tenets, and we talk about in the book commitment to relationships, to our spirituality, and to self-care, because all of those things get you to self-awareness. Because if you think about it, commitment in relationships is really important, but it's not what you think it is. It's about being mindful in the relationship and saying, yes, I'm hearing you. Yes, please hear me. And it's about communication. About saying, yes, I will commit to being aware with you, and we all get into relationships and I don't think we really think about that. And even with our kids, being mindful and being in the moment with the person that you're talking to or with when you get home from work. Just be present with your family. Don't worry about your work. Don't worry about, turn off the phone, turn off the news.
Speaking of phone.
Sorry.
No, but that was almost like on point.
Right.
Yep.
So all those things, well, my phone's my computer. So all of those things are things you can do without a lot of effort, but it takes being mindful about it and choosing to be present, because when you're present, things change dramatically. Trust me. And you have to be conscious that you want to be present. So then when you're present, it's much easier to be self-aware, because you're present in the moment and you're walking, down the street. This is an exercise I say in the book that I do all the time.
Right.
Because when you're walking or exercising, you're thinking about all the things you have to do, or you want to do, and you have music on and all that stuff. Well, take the music, make it something calming, and just look at where you are. Say, I'm walking down the street, that the sky is blue, the clouds are white, the grass is green. And that really pulls you into the present moment. It sounds really, really simple, but I'm walking on the sidewalk, or I'm walking in the grass, or I'm walking in the trees, or I'm walking on the beach. The ocean is blue. Those things bring you back to where you really are, present. So those are all the things that I would say are tips that I share in the book, and they're all very straightforward, but sometimes it's hard to get started. So just take baby steps.
Well, and one of the first baby steps that we would recommend is to buy your book, Susan. So, A Practical Guide to Self-Awareness, Discovering Your True Purpose. If you're out there right now and you're feeling called to more, you're feeling this need to expand, but you don't know how or where to start, this is an excellent place. Available now on Amazon, correct, Susan?
Yes, and it's a practical guide to
Do you have
awareness.
a photo of the book? Can you put it up for us? I forgot my copy at home. There we go. There you go, folks. That's the book. That's what it looks like on Amazon. I can tell you, having had read it, that it is beautifully written. It is beautifully written. I, same as you, love books. I love to read, and I love anything with a literary flair to it. So not only is it a practical guide, but it is a poetically, beautifully written invitation to really tap into some of the truth that is underlying all of this that so many of us are carrying around. Susan, thank you so much for taking the time. You're coming to us all the way from the East Coast today, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
And for those of you who want more with Susan, do buy the book. Do buy the exercise book as well, because they go hand in hand. It's something else that goes hand in hand is you and I, and you'll be with us here again on LA40 next Thursday. We look forward to having you. We're going to say have a rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.